Oh, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 662 of FloWrestling Radio Live. I'm your host, Christian Piles, joined today by David Bray and Ben Funky Askren, the boys in blue. Yes, we joined the Crips, and, it's first day, new chapter for us. But welcome, Ben. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well this morning. I had a lot of time at the Wrestling Academy yesterday. What else? That's it. Working on disc golf course. Got the Celeb Pro-Am coming up in now under 3 weeks. Working hard on the course. No Mulvaney's helping me out. So we're doing a good job.
Well, wonderful. What's the latest on the groundhog situation?
I got 4 of them, but I need to reset the traps out because I think I got a couple more that I got to get still.
Okay. Well, best of luck in your quest to kill. All right. So we had some recruiting news. I think we should start with that. A couple of nuggets, and then a big bite. The Nuggets. Mark Hall to Penn as the volunteer assistant coach.
Wait, was it Mark Hall at Penn?
Well, yeah, he was on the RTC.
Okay.
But now he's on staff for the college wrestling team.
Got it.
Do you remember Ryan Anderson, Ben Askren?
I do. I was, you guys were very, very high on him as a prospect. I always thought he just didn't quite take it serious enough, and that might be an issue going into college, and then that was an issue going into college.
Yeah,
but he's got great skills.
He's got the skills. He definitely had a unique build for a middleweight. Originally committed to Iowa State, then he went to a college, I can't remember which one.
Did he go?
Centenary, something like that.
Yeah,
Centenary, which is like near his hometown, and now he's going to Binghamton. So Binghamton about to do the do. This is a young man that would drink Mountain Dew in the corner during breaks. If he can get it all together, he's going to be. He could be a handful and a nice pickup for Binghamton. So I'm excited to see that. But the big news, Gavin Nelson to Minnesota. The Golden Gophers pick up another huge recruit in the class of 2023. Bray, what does it all mean?
Well, I mean, Minnesota, they need a big recruiting class, and they're off to a really hot start. Illinois got the wheels turning in the race for who's going to be the number one class. With Cannon Webster was like the first 2023 commit to sign. He's really good. And then they also added Christian Carroll. So it's like, okay, Illinois got this incredible class. But now Minnesota, they have Gavin Nelson and Cody Chittum. Both guys are top 5 in the class of 2023, number 1 and number 4. And it's a new look for the Gophers. Thinking about a couple seasons from now, it could be a pretty salty lineup. They still have some holes to fill, but I think it means that the Gophers are making the kind of moves they really need to make.
So now remember, this is not for the class of 2022, but a class down the line, 2023. Yeah. So what do we make of the verbals coming at this point? We see commitments all the time, and then on occasion they can wind up not going to those places. What are we thinking about these?
What percentage of that class, when they commit this young, I wonder what percentage end up switching? Chittum was a question mark to Minnesota. But Gavin Nelson seems like, I don't want to say a dub, but Minnesota's had so much success with the upper weights. He's right there. He's at Simley High School, not very far away. I'm sure he's up training in the room on a relatively regular basis. So I'm sure he has good familiarity. I think that was, I don't want to say an obvious one, but that's like, Minnesota usually keeps their good upper weights home. They don't get free very often.
Yeah, I agree. And I think a large percentage of these early verbals, they stick. They stick. There are some examples where they don't, but by and large, the verbals hold pretty true.
Yeah. And I think there are reasons for Minnesota fans to feel pretty good about these commitments. I mean, the obvious one, Gavin Nelson, like you said, Ben, he's right down the road. His high school teammate, Bennett Tabor, is going to be going there, class of 2021. The heavyweight group that came out in 2021 was really interesting. There was no, Gable Stevenson, Mason Paris kind of guy. There were a lot of prospects that are, I think, very similar. And Bennett Tabor in that room, they've had success. I wouldn't be surprised to see him go on and do well. But he's going to be filling in at heavyweight. And so having a teammate, Gavin Nelson come in there makes a ton of sense.
Well,
And then,
the only thing,
go ahead.
hold on, about this is you pointed out, that his high school teammate Tabor, and Tabor's a very large gentleman. I don't think he ever has any intention of being 197.
No.
So this would be Kirk Fleet, Gable type of situation. If Gavin Nelson were to continue to grow, there's not really a space for both of them. So I mean,
That's the question.
That's the question. If he keeps growing, what are they going to do?
I know he sees himself as a 97 pounder, but who knows what happens growth wise. If they can keep him at 97, I think that's going to make it a no brainer.
Yeah,
Sure.
I think that's one of those things that's tough to predict, right? And
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons you can see these changing commitments. Often the changing commitments is frequently been, and maybe I'm missing a lot of examples, it's frequently a sort of a red flag for the student athlete when they change. Not that the early verbal comes, but you think about, Adam Buziello, guy that changed a couple times.
You're saying
Gavin
like
Teasdale.
speaks to a personality type.
Yeah, I mean, when you see the changes in decisions off the early verbal, it's not an indication of like the school not able to hold them. Oftentimes, it's like maybe an issue of maturity or whatever.
I really wonder. I mean, that would be an interesting thing to look at to see if you're right on that one. I mean, there's definitely obvious a few clear ones that come to mind. I guess the only one I could think of right off the top counterpoint would be Kirk Fleet, who, he went Minnesota, Ohio State, Penn State, and now he's having success.
Well, actually, he went Minnesota, Oklahoma State.
Oh my gosh, that was only
Remember?
like for 4 days though.
It was a couple
I
months.
forgot.
It was a couple months he was committed to Oklahoma State, and then Ohio State. Then he actually went there. Then he left and went to Penn State.
Wow, I totally forgot that.
Yeah.
So would
So-
you count someone like, say, David Taylor? Because David Taylor initially was committed to Iowa State, flipped his
No.
verbal. Well, why not? He's someone who's
Because
going one place and went the other. You're saying he just follows Kale?
Yeah, of course.
Well, it's still a different school.
Also, he didn't verbal in his freshman year.
He actually committed. He NLI'd, and then he transferred.
Right. He literally signed. So I think that would be a different example.
Okay, fair enough.
So
I also think, when you're talking about commitments and how likely they are to stick, I think Chittum, he doesn't feel like a guy who, made a decision on a whim. It feels like a family with a plan. I mean, they, I think thought a lot about a lot of different places. And Sean Russell was instrumental in that, his relationship with Sean Russell was important. And Russell, I think, is still planning to train there for the foreseeable future. That feels like a good sign. And then the group that they're bringing in, they have 3 41-pounders and a couple 33-pounders coming in this year, to class of 2021, that are going to be strong, really good, lower weight core that Cody's going to have a good set of training partners to.
I like
contend with.
that the Texas kid you guys got on the list. I watched him in juniors, and I really liked him a lot. And then 2 really tough Wisconsin kids who haven't really totally made their mark nationally yet, in Jagger Eich and Blaine Brenner. So they have a lot of guys down there to train with.
Yeah, Vance Von Bar's, both Drew Roberts and Vance Von Bar have fathers who not only wrestled at the NCAA level but have coached there. So I think those are guys that feel like have a lot of familiarity with college wrestling. They're not going to be surprised by it. They, they're going to be really solid too. So that 33-41 group is
Is that Kevin Roberts' kid?
Yep. That's
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
Oh, it is?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. So big news for the Golden Gophers. You got to be a little excited there if you're a Gopher fan.
Well, it's a big pickup.
It's a good haul with Gavin, and they got the Chittum. He's from Tennessee, but I guess he liked it at the U.
Well, what's not to like?
You gotta love it. Anywho, we'll keep it moving. John Smith, the greatest to ever do it. If you haven't listened to his interview with Kyle Klingman, you definitely should. But he kind of hit him on all angles, and he asked him about a step out. And Coach Smith was, I would say, if you read between the lines, he is not in support of a step out. I don't think he is. I don't think he's staunchly against it. I think he was more like, I think there are implications that are not being considered in folk style wrestling that would make this rule a bad rule, which is interesting. And he noted when sort of getting into specifics, he said, think about a guy, he's getting an escape. He escapes on the edge. How are we going to officiate that? I think there's going to be a lot of complicated scenarios that maybe don't make sense for folk style. And there's a lot of different positions in folk style that aren't in freestyle. And so I thought that was interesting because, this is a wrestling genius who's thought through probably every scenario that could happen in a wrestling match. And so, it kind of makes you think a little bit.
I mean, well, in that, I have thought, obviously, that scenario comes up.
Right.
One of the things you could do in that scenario would be some type of, I don't want to say shot clock, but, once you get the escape, you have a couple seconds to circle back into some type of position where you're not penalized or something to that effect. I know that does make things complicated, obviously. What other specific situation? So I haven't watched an interview yet. Is there another specific situation? Because that's obviously the number one. Like, what would we do here type of situation.
That's the only one he mentioned specifically.
Okay, that's the real obvious one.
Mm-hmm.
I would be very curious to see what other situations he would be talking about, because besides that one, and listen, I don't love the step out. I love it more than what we have now. But I don't really see what else would be questionable as long as we don't do the grounded.
Yes.
I mean,
Oh my gosh.
we can't do the grounded gimmick. If we do that, then yeah, there's a lot of issues. But if we don't do that, then I think we're kind of clear.
Yeah. So I don't know if I missed this thread in May when it happened, but I know we had Chuck Barbie on the Bader show, and then I saw some tweets on Twitter. Nomad's been he's been like pestering Chuck Barbie for a little bit on Twitter. But Chuck Barbie had said that the push out promotes pushing, de-incentivizes executing holds, to which the reply is, well, in freestyle, do you see this at all? And I think the answer is you really, really don't. But then he mentioned some other things. As far as subjectivity, these come to mind. Who stepped out first? Should the referee stop the action when a foot steps out or let it continue? Should the referee score the step out or the continued action after the step out? Were the wrestlers down on the mat or standing when a step out occurred?
So I think I can answer all those very easily. Who stepped out first? I think we don't really have an issue with that. Every once in a while, there's a question. They go to review. It's taken care of. Should the referee stop the action when a foot steps out or let it continue? I think it's easy. I think this is one of the places that freestyle actually misses. Is they don't have. We've talked about this at length. They don't have a clear continuation policy. Sometimes it's one step. Sometimes it's 27 feet into the next mat. And I think the continuation is easy. If you have something in bounds still, you have a few seconds to continue. But if you're all the way out, you're all the way out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Kind of like they have currently. I think that one is pretty easy to answer. And then were the wrestlers down on the mat? And I think, in our opinion, it wouldn't matter. It doesn't matter. We don't want the grounded. We just want, if you're in a neutral position and you go out of bounds, then you are being pushed out. I think so. I think those questions he asked right there are relatively easy to answer.
Yeah, I do as well.
And then to his other statement, my biggest concern is the push out promotes pushing and de-incentivize executing holds. I had the same worry. I was very worried about this in 2007, not in 2021. We've seen it play out for the last 14 years. I could not have predicted how well people would be able to execute edge wrestling tactics. They are so good at it. People don't just push people out. That does not happen at the international level. It would not happen. It might happen for like 1 year in college wrestling. It wouldn't happen in year two. It really wouldn't. We've seen it play out. We don't need to guess on it. We know what it looks like.
Yeah, you know what's it's funny watching old freestyle matches, but you look at like some old Tom Brands or like some of Cale Sanderson's matches, and how it looks strange when they just they just concede that space and go out of bounds. It actually looks like, oh, this is terrible. Like, how are they even allowed to do that? Which is funny because I see it happen all the time in folk style wrestling, and I just think, okay, that's just part of the sport there.
Because the Brands brothers pushing some mugs out of bounds like crazy.
Oh my gosh, think about that Cuban match.
Yeah, for real.
Terry had, that was insane.
The one I don't know if I'm right about this, but I think so. In the first year or two of the step out, it seemed like the position that you would see a lot was guy gets to a single leg, and that's where you'd see him go, like take the guy out of bounds. But even that position is you're less and less likely to see that single leg go out of bounds. Guys wrestle through it. Guys figured it out. There was a little bit of a learning curve, I think. I remember a lot of like, okay, he got to a leg. It's a 1-pointer, and that's gonna happen. But
I spent in 2008. I warmed up in that position every single day. Very literally every single practice. I would just start there and kind of warm up and get warm and feel it and get the balance. And then in my 2008 quarterfinals in the trials, or maybe it was semis, I don't recall, Donnie got my leg up and he could not push me out or take me down for the first like minute and 20 seconds. And I really made that a point of emphasis for myself. And we still see it sometimes, but yeah, it's not nearly as frequent as it was back then. And people will absolutely adapt to it. And then, on the flip side, if you know that's an issue and you're not willing to address it, then yeah, you're going to give up 1 point here and there.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense how the defending wrestler let's just get off on a tangent here, but it doesn't make any sense that a defending wrestler can have that level of control and where the match. I mean, someone has your foot in the air, you're balancing, they're on both of their feet. It doesn't make sense to me that people can do what you did, like what Yanni did to Frank, like what Dake does routinely. It doesn't make sense to me. But it happens
I never had the ability to do it with Yanni when the foot gets way, way up. I never did that, or I probably couldn't anymore. My foot's not flexible enough. But it's I don't know, if you angle your body correctly and your balance is right and your foot placement is correct, you can really stop someone in their tracks from moving you. And then the obvious here is if the other if they're just trying to drive as hard as they can, which they won't do because they're smart, then you could take advantage of the over pursuit and then score back on them, with a crotch lift or chest wrap or something like that. So they know that, hey, I can't just drive you as hard as I want, because if I do, something bad will happen to me. So they have to be measured in their approach also.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, folk style, like defensive tactics, you have more options too, because you don't have to worry about exposure, at least in the scramble.
Less about exposure.
Yeah, less about exposure. So that gives you, I think, more options. We could see some really innovative technique. It'd be cool.
Okay.
No, that's a great point. I mean, it's actually, in folk style, it would be almost impossible to get pushed out, because you could just very easily do some type of leg pass or Nolf roll or something to that effect as you were headed towards out of bounds. So, I mean, it would make it even easier. In freestyle, obviously, you don't have the option to, create some type of scramble like that, because they're, and even like, say, the one position, sorry if I love wrestling technique. If it's boring, you guys just cut me off.
It.
But like Frank Chamizo, when guys were getting the leg on the outside, not the inside. I wish I had a leg here so I could show you exactly. But they're more able to push from there. Mm-hmm. And that was where he he swims down and swims to the other high crotch right there, and then pulls his leg back down. Like, that thing didn't exist. Probably 10 years ago, that didn't exist. No one was doing it. And now, he was. So I call it the Chimizo because he was the first person that I saw do it. But again, keeping people from pushing you in a really fantastic fashion.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I had a question here, or well, it's not my question really, but something that I think related to the name, image, and likeness stuff, and some of the new legislation we're seeing with the idea. And I don't know why I didn't think of it yesterday, but the schools have to sign off on these contracts that they sign. And I guess I wonder why that is. Why is that something that is part of this? What say should they have in who they do and don't sign with? And how is this progress because if they have to sign off, that means they could just say, theoretically, they could just say no, right?
No, yeah.
So how is that not? I just struggle to see how this is empowering the athletes or giving the athletes the ability to do that if the school still has that. Now, the counterpoint to that is, well, the school would not want to do that. The schools want to be, progressive, I would suppose. But it just seems strange to me that they would need to sign off on something like that.
Yeah, well, especially with how, I don't want to say loose. Maybe that's the right word. Loose the transfer portal is right now. If one school, once you got there, they were misrepresenting how they were actually going to behave. They said, yeah, you're going to get sponsorships, and they were just deny. Then the athlete could then transfer. But I guess I would say, and I haven't seen this talked about, but unless athletes are allowed to have some type of manager, they need to have someone in their corner. Because, I mean, I've been in the game 15 years now, and when someone sends me a contract, I still send it to my lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like I can read through that and know. I mean, I can generally kind of glance at it and, okay, this doesn't look right or that doesn't look right. But I don't trust myself to read through a contract and know exactly the ins and the outs of it and what they expect of me. So how are we going to expect 21 or 22-year-olds? And so the last thing you would want is some type of large corporation sending an athlete some type of contract that they don't understand.
Right.
And then saying, you didn't fulfill your obligations to us, because that can absolutely happen. So I actually don't mind if the university would have some type of department which had a few lawyers in there, which their job was to read over the contracts that their athletes receive. I think that would be a great service by the university. Now, if they're, making them turn all of them down, yeah, that's probably going to be not so good, and that's going to be an issue. But I think the athletes at that age absolutely need someone in their corner who's going to represent them strongly and make sure they're not getting taken advantage of.
That I completely agree with. That I do. I just think you need someone with purely the athlete's interest at heart. What's going to happen if there's a clothing brand that wants to work with an athlete and it's a Nike school? Okay, well, now you have to sign off. Now you signed off on a kid, with a clothing deal that's outside of. I don't know. It just seems
so that would. I think you're making the point that the university needs that department, because then those people in the university department representing the athletes would also need to know what the university has signed and what they've promised. And so if what the university has signed and promised contradicts what the athlete is trying to promise and guarantee, now that's going to be a serious issue, because one of the parties won't be able to fulfill their obligations.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
It does get into some very interesting territory. I mean, because obviously, so if we say like the UFC, the UFC obviously had a few things, like, for example, and I didn't love it, but whatever, that the athletes get no fight week wear. Like, you're going to wear Reebok. So now it's Venom now. You're going to wear Reebok on fight week. You're not allowed to wear anything else, and you will be fined if you do that. And we've seen people be fined. And so, I think in MMA, having a manager who understands every obligation, who has a lot of UFC fighters under their belt, so they understand what they're dealing with, is really important, because you don't want you to get yourself in legal hot water by saying, hey, I'll wear you in the press conference and at weigh-ins, and then you get there and the UFC is saying, no, yeah, right, get lost, you can't do that. And now you signed a contract that you can't fulfill, and that's going to be an issue.
Right. Now, so did the fighters in UFC, did they have to wear Reebok even in the cage too, right? Was everything?
All fight week obligations are all Reebok, nothing else. Even if, like, say Diamond Cup, they made a really, really good, they're probably the best cup in MMA. They got the longer underwear, like spandex-ish, and it holds the cup in real nice on your junk, so it doesn't hurt all that bad.
Awesome cup
It's good.
Yeah, but so, like, for example, Reebok makes one that is terrible. It does not hold the cup on your junk very well at all. And so, if you get hit, it's going to be really bad. So most fighters would just say, I would rather wear my diamond. So the UFC would literally come around with a black Sharpie, and they would, the top band where it says diamond, they would black all of that out.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's serious.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If you were in college, or when you were in college and this was available to you, what would your strategy have been, Ben?
To get sponsors?
Yeah.
Well, we also didn't have social media, so I think that
you could have invented that and then profited off it in college.
That changes the landscape quite a bit, because now, I mean, if I do get sponsorships, and one of the main things I sell is access to my social media. I will give you one post or one tweet or whatever it is, right, in exchange for X amount of dollars or whatever. So they have that to sell. Whereas in 2007, what can you really sell? Oh, I'll wear your clothes, but there's not nearly as many videos as there was. So I think in 2007 or back then, it would have been like a lot more local stuff where you could maybe do an appearance at a car dealership or that type of stuff. And now the game has changed where everything can be nationally done, because all you do is, hey, AJ Ferrari, I want to send you some sunglasses. We do 2 videos with the sunglasses, or I want to send you some protein powder, have it in the back of your workout, something to that effect. So I think now kids are going to be much more able to take advantage of the opportunities that are afforded to them.
One of the things, and this question of why do schools have to sign off, I don't know for sure, but Oklahoma State, the model that they have, we talked about yesterday, is I think really smart in framing it, and the language is all like, athlete centric. We want to help, empower you and whatever. But I think one of the issues it's like gonna be fallout from this down the road is student athletes not understanding their market value and expecting to make a lot more money than they actually can. And that's going to be, I think, a challenge for a lot of these universities and these offices and departments, is trying to keep athletes on board who can't figure out why they're not making the amount of money they think they should. And that's
So
do
you think that's because kids at other universities will be lying to them? Because obviously they would see ideally they would be truthful with their peers, those at the same university, and they would know what they're making ish. Is that why? I mean, why do you think that?
I mean, think about, okay, so just Oklahoma State's the example. We know AJ Ferrari, he's gonna make money on his endorsements. They're gonna bring in, a big recruiting class, and I don't think very many people in most recruiting classes have the ability to make money comparable to AJ Ferrari. Agreed. So I think it's going to be that kind of thing where 1 or 2 guys on the team is going to make a lot of money. The rest of the roster, whether they understand that or not, could really that could cause some strange team dynamics. It could cause some dissatisfaction with the institution potentially. And so having somebody that knows how to manage those conversations is going to be something that teams have never had to think about before.
No, so I agree. It's going to be 100% top heavy. But that was I kind of brought up this point yesterday that, and I don't know when this will become legal, but something where a university gets a shoe contract for the football team, and they say, hey, we're getting $7 million next year for our apparel deal. So we're going to keep 50% of it, and we're going to allocate 50% to the athletes.
Yeah.
So everybody on the team is getting X amount. Once you're on the roster, if you make the final roster, you're getting a check for this much. That's something that so now I say, hey, Mr. Bray, if you come to Oklahoma State University, in addition to us paying for all of your school, because of this sponsorship, you're also going to get a $64,000 check when you make the roster. Versus a university who doesn't do those type of partnerships, I think is going to be left behind. I got to think with the smart people in college athletics, we're going to see that sooner than later, some form of that. As far as the unrealistic expectations, there's absolutely this, because everyone lies about how much money they make. And I know my wife, I was on Twitter, and my wife would always hear these people talk about how much money they make on Instagram. And so this is 3 years ago. I didn't do it. I hate it. I still really don't like Instagram. And she would say, yeah, but if you just get to 100,000, you can make a full-time living. This person, they say that's all they do, and they only have 112,000 followers. And I'm like, Amy, I can't tell you that's a lie, but I'm pretty sure that's a lie.
Yeah.
And now I'm at 1 million followers, and I could maybe make a full-time living if I really worked hard at my Instagram. But I don't really like it, so I don't want to work hard at it. So I make some money, but not like a full-time living. And I'm 10x what these other people, they're lying, right? They were saying I'm making a full-time living at 100,000 on Instagram, and it's just not true whatsoever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn, I didn't realize you had 922,000 followers.
Yeah. So I mean, so there's a definite possibility that I'm not saying there's definitely it will happen 100% that kids are going to lie about how much money they're making to other kids to sound cool. They're going to say, oh, I got $10,000 for that post when they really got 300, or something. That's how kids work. That's how kids operate. I can remember this from the time I was in middle school. Kids talking about. I remember we had one kid in third grade that everyone hated because his family got a pool because they were wealthy, and this mug tried lying and saying he made money and paid for the pool himself. And everyone's like, bro, you're in third grade. We know you're so full of crap. And he wouldn't give it up. He said he paid for the pool. And we're like, no, you didn't. You didn't pay for that damn pool.
I don't know. You don't know that.
Kids lie.
He could have been a
Kids
child
lie.
actor. You don't know.
He wasn't. I promise.
What's he doing now? That's what I'm curious about.
Who knows? You know what? Maybe I'll look him up on Facebook. I have no idea.
Let's look him up. Let's see what he's doing.
Okay.
Is he still
He
buying
didn't pay for the
pools?
damn pool in third grade, Christian. I'll tell you that much.
I'm not sure.
But he tried convincing everyone that he did. Kids lie, right? That's what they do.
They love it. They love it.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that name, image, and likeness changes for wrestling will shift how student athletes think about redshirting? Like if you're a guy that could start as a true freshman right now, there's some incentive to like maybe get that year of development and put off your starting role for a lengthier career. Now it's like, I don't know, maybe you want to start getting in the lineup and getting in the spotlight, making money sooner.
Yeah, that's a great point. I didn't think of that one, but that's definitely possible for sure.
Maybe you go in there, you make a splash year one, then you redshirt. Just focus on social media for a year. Take a redshirt social media year, and then come back. It'll be. Man, I'm excited. I mean, I don't see a ton of negative consequences. I think it's going to create some really. I mean, this is a show about entertainment and discussion about what's going on in wrestling. I think it could be really. It could be really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what's going to be fascinating is like. Well, actually, the kid that works for me, Caden Henschel, he has a vlog. He's very popular on YouTube, I guess. I took him. So I lost John. John, get lost. We don't like you. You'll move to state college as my vlog guy. And I got this new guy, Caden. And he has a huge YouTube following, but he hasn't been able to monetize because of NCAA regulations. But he's not popular because he won NCAA titles. He's popular because he has a vlog, and he still can't monetize it.
Genius.
But anyway, he was vlogging for me last week, and we were up at wrestling camp, and like 4 kids wanted their picture with him. Like he was really popular. But how long till some of these really like AJ Ferrari's vlog would get watched? There is zero doubt in my mind. If AJ Ferrari found a college kid who is aspiring to be a videographer and said, "Hey, dude, I'll pay you $200 a week. Come make me one vlog a week and put it up on YouTube." Do you now, AJ Ferrari? You can give me 20% for helping you this way if you want to.
Ben's getting his cut.
It's fair.
I'm getting my cut, dude.
Ben invented vlogs.
One vlog.
Everything's
one vlog
going
a week,
through
AJ.
him.
Well, no one's thinking. AJ's not thinking about this yet. Hire someone to come
Are
with
you
you
sure?
for $200 a week. Put it on YouTube.
He's making some
and then
pretty
you can
serious
put
trick shots in pool, Ben.
all your sponsors on there. It's tremendous. Just like don't do anything illegal on your vlog. Right? Don't put it out there live. Just have someone cut out all the illegal stuff you do or stuff you get canceled for, and it's going to be tremendous. Everyone will watch it. You have tons of sponsors, so like there's something that kids might be spending a little more time on. Boom, there you go.
I think AJ Ferrari has for a long time, engaged in the practice of asking somebody to film him, and he's got plenty of people willing to just, like he's on camera all the time with various camera angles. He doesn't have to.
You got to get good people though. Like my man John was really good, and then not Caden, but I had tried to find someone else because I couldn't get John Fuglin enough because he was like filming David Taylor and Cale Sanderson, whatever. Think you're cool, John, and so I found someone else, and it was not very good. It was subpar, so I don't think I even put it out.
Oh dang! Hope he's
You got to
not
find the right
listening.
people. He's not a wrestling guy, so he's not.
I don't know,
That was
man.
his first problem.
Most people listening to this aren't wrestling people either.
Shut up.
A lot of finance people.
Oh my gosh.
All right, why don't we transition to questions now? Actually,
Okay.
before we do, I think you should
This
leave
business stuff
season
is so
2.
much fun. This business stuff is so fun, though, isn't it, Christian?
We love business.
We could be business managers. Me and you, we could start a partnership, and we could get sponsorships. What do you think?
Let's do it. Let's sponsor some things.
Hey,
Love to
we
mix it
get we get people to sponsor the college athletes.
Oh yeah, I'll do it all.
All right.
As long as Daddy gets a taste, you know.
Hey, the one question that we didn't talk about related to name, image, likeness is Roy Donk's question in here, which I think
Jazz legend Roy Donk.
This is a good. I mean,
Good segue. Are you familiar with Roy Donk? His
I
work.
don't know Roy Donk. No,
Okay.
I don't know.
Mickey Kramer and the Eight Balls. Anyways, what would the punishment be for an athlete who makes money off of their name but is in a state that hasn't approved it yet, i.e., Minnesota or New Jersey? Could the punishment come from NCAA or the university?
I would say
That's a good question.
they're probably ineligible. I mean,
Or
that's
the feds.
or not ineligible, but they can't compete, whatever.
How can the NCAA?
Who would declare them? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, stay a Christian.
How
This
can the
is example of thing.
NCAA declare someone ineligible for something that is totally legal elsewhere in other states?
Yeah.
If the policy requires them to submit contracts to the university and like they don't have, and that process can't exist in their compliance office, I'm sure would just like shut them down. But doesn't compliance kind of just do what it wants sometimes? Like different policies, different.
Well, that's the
universities,
thing.
and-
For
That's
sure.
the thing with the
For sure.
NCAA. It's like they don't have any uniform rules. It's like NC State will have a rule, and UVA's rule will be different than Gardner Webb's. Then they're all different. There's like hundreds of different actual NCAA rules.
Yeah, so this is what I was saying yesterday though, is like can't the NCAA is the governing body who would deem someone to be ineligible for competition. So if they have a rule on the rule book and they don't want to enforce it, can't they just say like that rule is scratched? Like why do they have to go through all this federal legislation? Can't they just say, nah, that we're done with that rule. It's scratched. We're not going to enforce it. So even though New Jersey hasn't approved this and Anthony Ashdall's getting mega bucks, we're not going to suspend him. He's fine. He's eligible. Like, why can't they do that?
I guess the ultimate like I don't know, punishment, the NCAA could say like your institution now is not part of the NCAA or something. I mean, I don't know.
Banished
You know,
from the
but if
NCAA.
they-
You know what I mean? Or like you think about like SMU and the death penalty, and you can't compete in postseason for
Capital punishment
whatever.
now.
They did.
Okay,
so
but
they
hold on.
gave him the chair.
This is what I was saying yesterday. Is if the NCAA is the governing body, they'll make you ineligible. And so, for example, it's not a college athlete thing because say the NAIA, for example, has different rules.
Mm-hmm.
They have all different rules. You will not be ineligible for some of the things you'd be ineligible for in the NCAA. So if the NCAA is the governing body that's going to make you ineligible and the state legislature is failing to enact policy, can't the NCAA just say, why can't they just say, you're not ineligible? Make as much money as you want. I don't care. I know New Jersey's really slow. I don't understand why they can't do that. It's not like the state of New Jersey is going to say Anthony Ashnall is ineligible because he makes money here and he's not allowed to. New Jersey's not doing that.
Yeah,
They don't give a damn.
that's why we need a lawyer on here. I think.
We need a lawyer.
understand
Yeah.
this.
I should have
We
went
need
to
a
law
lawyer.
school. Okay.
It's not- never too late.
Yeah, let's go back. Career switcher. Okay. So yeah, it does create a lot of interesting questions. The inconsistency with the rules, with the states, with everything. I don't know. More to come there for sure.
Oh, hey, you have a question here, and I actually was thinking about this as I was going to sleep a couple nights ago.
Wow.
Why hasn't Rob Cole hired anyone yet? We didn't talk about that. I thought it was coming like 2 days after.
He said today or tomorrow when he was on with
Yes.
Bader, I think. May have been the Bash podcast. I can't remember. One of those. He's like, yeah, it's coming soon. And then, but also, Cornell has not, to my knowledge, made any hires at this point either.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm super curious. Who's going where? Obviously, there's been plenty of rumors around, but as we know, rumors are just rumors.
Someone sent Rob Cole a tweet. Maybe he'll answer us.
He's now at, I think, Stanford Cole or Cardinal.
Really?
Yeah, he changed it because he was Cornell Cole.
Yeah.
Rob Cole.
Smart change.
Yeah, Stanford Cole. Picture of Shane Griffith as his new thing. I don't know if we ever talked about the fact that Shane. We just assumed that Shane was coming back because Rob
Yeah, we
said
did.
they were, but he did not put out the Instagram official post until after Rob was hired. It was like last week, I believe, and he said Shane basically said, "Hey, I let some important people down, but I gotta follow my heart and stick with Stanford," which I think is great.
Yeah. I don't see how you could blame him for that.
No way. I mean, and there can't be. I don't know. We have an idea where he was looking, but those other schools, I can't imagine are really hold it against him too much. He was only looking because his program was dropped. Now his program's not dropped, so he's not looking.
That was something else that John Smith talked about in that interview with Kyle Klingman. He said not only is it a good thing that Stanford's reinstated, but it's a good thing that those student athletes are going to stay there. And he kind of alluded to the fact that like college coaches, people are, they're greedy. They want, not greedy, but they want to take advantage of any possible situation. And so that to me suggested like people were definitely still trying to recruit these guys even after Stanford came back. That's fine. That's their right. They're in the portal. But the fact of them staying in Stanford and that program being strong and being able to build around the pieces that they had already put in place is a good thing. And I think, Oklahoma State was in the conversation for Real Woods. John Smith mentioned Real Woods' name even in that interview, that like it's a good thing Real is staying at Stanford. And I don't know how any coach would not feel the same way. John Smith is as competitive as anybody, and so for him to say, hey, I'm glad these guys are staying at Stanford, I think a lot of coaches probably feel the same way.
And that was the advice he gave Borelli was, hey, keep these guys together any way you can. So it's cool. It's interesting. He actually changed the copy on his Instagram. It just says, see you next year, Stanny. Because it had said something like, let some important people down. So a little more of a refined post there.
He is an absolute legend for winning NCAAs, wearing that shirt during the review, and just like starting that, and for him to transfer, I mean, he could make any decision he wants to, but it's just more legendary for him to come back and have a good long career there.
I still can't get over how that all materialized. It's an amazing story. Okay. Whoops, let me pull it up here. All right, let's get to some more questions. What does a Burroughs-Yazdani match look like? I think this would be a very fun match for a future card. I agree.
What does it look like?
Because I was all on the. I thought Burroughs matched up great against Yazdani back in 2016. I thought not a matchup I was worried about. Yeah. I thought Aguyev would, not Aguyev. Godoyev was going to be the tougher matchup for Jordan, and I think that turned out to be true. We did not get to see the match, but I think he matches up well. I think he would have the awareness to avoid the ties and shoot in, and I think we were still, it was peak Burroughs then, but we never got to see it. So now Burroughs is going up one way. Yazdani has gone up to 86. And, he's been a world champion up there. So what do we think that match looks like? I'm curious for Ben's thoughts.
Yeah. Well, I think it's, I honestly feel similar to you, is that Yazdani works, I don't want to say exclusively, but primarily from ties, and Burroughs is very good. How many times has Kyle Dake unhooked Jordan Burroughs? And the answer is very, very few, and he's had a whole bunch of attempts. Yes. So I think Jordan Burroughs is going to be able to stay out of the ties. And so if they're the same size, I feel like I think Jordan smokes him. Up a weight, I don't know what it looks like. I don't know if Yazdani's big enough where if Jordan goes underneath him, he's going to get squished. I think that's probably unlikely. But, we didn't really see Jordan go under David and get a takedown. Right, he did get some push-outs, but David was also winning, so we're not sure what that would have looked like if David really needed to stay in bounds.
Right.
I don't know. I'm in. I'm watching a David Burroughs versus Yazdani match for sure.
Yeah, I do wonder about the counter offense of Yazdani if Burroughs gets on the attack, what that would look like. I think that's probably where the match is won and lost for sure. I struggle to see Yazdani implementing his control ties like he would prefer to. It's different with David because he does get to them against David because David is he's initiating there in the hand fight as well. Yes. So it kind of gets him a little bit closer. Yeah. I don't know. What I am curious about is how pace would factor in. Is it an advantage? Because I don't know who it's an advantage for. Is it an advantage for Yazdani? Is it an advantage for Burroughs? Is it just negated?
I think I think it's I think it's negated because I think one of the things Jordan does to get people tired is he's not always so hard in the hand fight, but he'll attack and reattack and cause these kind of scrambles. And people, Valencia, even though Valencia was scoring, he was getting really tired, right? Because Jordan was creating these scrambles of action that were making a lot of work happen. Whereas versus David, we didn't see that because I think he wasn't as willing to go underneath David because of the size factor and scramble factor. And I kind of feel like the same thing with Yazdani is he wouldn't want to engage in the ties as much and he wouldn't want to go underneath as much because of the size issue. So I don't think, and I think Yanni would be scared to Yazdani would be scared to, come in hard and dig underhooks because he might get blasted. So I
Yanni
think
too,
it's
though.
negated. Yanni would get blasted.
Their pace is so different. Yazdani is like he'll melt guys early in matches. He just burns guys out early and gets a lot of techs, gets a lot of points on the board, pushes them out, that kind of thing. Whereas Burroughs, he not only does he have that incredible pace late, that great sprint, but he makes those adjustments that are really good. So I think this match would be probably Yazdani finds his way to some points early, and then Burroughs comes back at the end and figures it out. Because Burroughs does give up points, and Yazdani's like the ideal early match wrestler that can put a pace on that's really hard to deal with initially. A lot of people can't handle that pace. They don't make the adjustments. David Taylor could do it. I think Burroughs would do it as well. And I think we would see, a really impressive late match surge from Jordan.
I don't know what we see. I mean, Yazdani comes out like a banshee early. Is that like, does he play himself a little bit there? Does Burroughs really implement like a weather the storm mentality? Or is he just like, this guy's coming straight at me and just like a level changing and getting to legs?
Yeah. Do you really think Yazdani will come at him that hard? Because, I mean, just about the worst thing you can do is someone who's got a nice strong double leg is just come straight at him.
Right.
I mean, that's like the worst. So again, you watch Kyle Dake usually forces underhooks in our body, and you watch Kyle Dake versus Jordan Burroughs, and Kyle's movement at him is very measured. Right? He doesn't do a lot of it because of the penalty that will happen if he does. So,
right. Well, I guess the difference I see with someone like Dake versus someone like Yazdani is Dake has an extremely varied style that he will implement based on the situation. Whereas I haven't seen that second, third, fourth pitch from Yazdani, and I'm talking about a world and Olympic champion. But I think he's done it, and he's done it with a singular focus on his way. Whereas someone like Kyle is like he crafts a strategy around who he's wrestling. Maybe that's not necessarily the case, but he definitely has different looks he can give you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you might be right on that. I don't know. I feel like Yazdani would be smart enough to be measured in his approach, but maybe not.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
That's a fun match. We should make it happen.
I would like to see it for sure. Does the new rule about name, image, and likeness apply retroactively? I.e., would Pico now have NCAA eligibility?
No,
I don't think so. Wouldn't work like that. Definitely a moving forward type of thing.
I mean, that is that the question of not just the retroactive, but like, what do you do with high school athletes? Like, can you bring existing endorsement deals with you into college? I don't know.
Well, I don't think high school governing bodies allow that type of stuff.
Do they have? I don't even know. I mean, do high school governing bodies? One, do high school governing bodies have rules about it? And two, like, do kids?
They have to, right?
But would kids care? I mean, think about. I don't know. Cody Chittum, for example, I don't think he's going to wrestle a lot of high school matches anymore, right? He's going to do college opens. He's going to, the pandemic showed a number of these kids, if they don't have the opportunity to wrestle a regular high school season, they're going to be okay. They're going to get good matches. Super 32 doesn't have any rules about endorsement deals. Fargo doesn't have any rules.
That brings up another. So now if we start getting into other sports, I was just talking to someone whose kid was good in. It was something obscure. What the hell was it? But they were saying that they start sponsoring kids super early, and with low amounts, but they want to get them under the umbrella, and then in the chance that one of them makes it big, that it was maybe like skateboarding or it was something to that effect. If they make it big, then like as they get into like 14, 15, 16, they'll sign a longer deal, like a 5 to 7 year deal. So it would carry them through when they're going to turn professional. And then they would have them for the first, say, 3 to 5 years of their professional career. So I think the high school governing bodies do have these things. But then add on to that, I was also talking to someone else the other day whose kid plays baseball. And they were talking about how the best high school baseball players don't play high school baseball. They do some type of travel league. And you know what? That would actually make me really sad because like I love high school wrestling. Obviously, financially, it would probably be a huge benefit to me if our best kids didn't do that and they did some type of season outside of the high school season. But I still don't want it to happen. I want them to, compete with their high school teams. I think it's a huge part and it's really cool. And for the most part, almost no high school wrestlers compete outside their high school season, right? You have maybe an Aaron Pico who did it. And then I guess if you guys want to classify like a Wyoming Sim and a Blair as that type of thing, then maybe those guys also, but not a lot.
Yeah, I echo that. I would be sad if we start to get away from that. And I think that the team component and representing your high school is the really cool thing about high school sports in general, but specifically wrestling.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Connor, for real. This is pretty funny because he kind of works through this process in the tweet. You kind of see his thinking. Does Mr. Fast Twitch understand the fundamentals of clothing contracts require people wear clothing? You can't get sponsored by Wax Chests. Actually, no. Blades. You should go Gillette instead of shirt. Smart. Stand corrected.
Listen, do you know how many? Listen, I know the way Instagram works relatively well. If he should just do videos where his shirt gets ripped off, and TikTok, he would get a huge amount of views on all of those videos, and it would be great for his sponsors. If he had like a one sponsor a week, I'm gonna rip off the T-shirt. He would get tons of views, big money.
Hey, I think AJ understands. I think he understands this better than anybody, and he is not putting on a shirt unless you're paying him to do it.
That's a good point.
That's real estate that you don't get for free, baby.
I love it. Okay, that was a good question by Connor. For real. From an actual cannibal, we continue to indulge this madman. Or woman. Can't rule out that cannibals can be women too, I guess. Since wrestling doesn't have a lot of scholarship money, what's stopping wealthy donors that bring back programs from setting up a scholarship fund to help bring in wrestlers and pay for their education so that no one has to worry about money? Is this the thing, or is it like super illegal? I believe it is like super illegal.
Super illegal.
Yeah. You can't just
Not
set up a
partially.
little side pot. Super illegal. Though, why? I don't know. Why would that be illegal?
I know what the NCAA would say. The NCAA would say because the institutions who are wealthy would just get richer because they would have richer donors, and then they would pay for all the best kids, and then there you go.
You could not set up a scholarship for athletics. I know some institutions have policies where somebody like a donor from a certain community, maybe they really want people from, well, in the state of Wyoming, there's like a family from Wyoming that was somehow connected. I can't remember if it was Michigan or Michigan State, but there was a big scholarship every year, and it wasn't for athletes, it was for any students. They could apply, and if they selected a certain number of kids, that they would basically like cover their cost of attendance at whichever one, Michigan or Michigan State, for X number of kids per year. Those kinds of independent scholarships you can often set parameters for. And I remember hearing about, I used to work in college admissions. I remember around like the college fair circuit hearing about some school. That's big flex. I remember hearing about like institutions where parents would kind of set up these like super narrow scholarship funds that were only going to apply to their kid as a way to like use non-taxable money as their kid's tuition. So they'd be like,
smart.
They'd be like, a finance major from this city who participates in this activity is eligible to compete for this scholarship. And then like a separate independent committee has to figure out, who that fits that criteria gets the scholarship or whatever. But there would only be like one kid that could
and
possibly
get their friends to sign off on
yeah,
it
so
as the independent
even
committee.
so even something like this, like I wouldn't be surprised if there are places where people are, manipulating something like this.
hold on, David. So correct me if I'm wrong, but and it's been a long time since I've been in college coaching. I thought there was some stupid rule where if you got a scholarship outside of wrestling, like the one you're talking about, that it still counted against the wrestling team's scholarship allotment or something to that effect to prevent this type of thing from happening.
Well, I think that's what the Supreme Court ruling is now changing. Like, I think it's saying,
Okay.
I think it's now saying that student athletes can apply for those other kinds of financial aid, those other kinds of scholarship. Like, that's where I'm wondering if, like, this thing that the actual cannibal is talking about is illegal, but I do
because
think there
there
are
was
ways to
some
manipulate
prohibition on it, right? With athletics. I can't remember. It's been too long. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I know there was some prohibition, or you had to report other scholarships or something to that effect with the athletics.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a lot of illegal.
You know who we need to get? We need to get a compliance person on here, not a lawyer. We need a compliance person.
We said that right before the show. We're gonna try it. We're working on it.
Oh, we are.
Mm-hmm.
Tremendous. Not one that's too stuffy though. Like one that'll maybe an ex-compliance person, because they'll give us the real answers, not like the ones that. Would be ex-com.
Yeah, ex-com.
XCOM.
So I'm just gonna Google fired compliance officers real quick.
Yeah, we want one. We want one that was breaking the rules, so he knows all. They know all the ins and outs.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow, I need to type fired because I ended up with the Texas Commission of Fires. So this may be a longer Google search than I realized. Okay, I don't see any other real questions here to get into, so I think we can probably safely go. But I do want to say, I almost said it. I want to say it. I think you should leave. Season 2 coming July 6th. This has nothing to do with anything on Flow, but if you listen to the show, you know we reference it all the time because it's probably the funniest show I've ever seen. Season 2 is coming. It has a wrestling tie.
I don't know what you're talking about, Christian. What are you
talk
talking
about it all the time. You just need to listen to me. I Think You Should Leave is the name of a show on Netflix. It's a sketch comedy by Tim Robinson. Very, very funny show. We reference it constantly. You miss all the references. But hold
on. Yeah. I got something so good for you before. Okay, you finish, and then I got something great for you. I'm sorry.
So Brooks Wheelan, who's been on the Bader Show, is a wrestler. He's from Iowa. Is actually he's a stand-up comedian. He was on SNL. He is going to be in season 2. So that's awesome. And I think Brooks is going to stop by Flow sometime in July.
Man, I got a major beef with Brooks Wheelan right now.
Spit something.
He scheduled a show for Austin, Texas. Great.
That's great.
It's during Fargo. I'm gonna be in the dang Fargo Dome. Probably,
oh my goodness.
Not enjoying Brooks Wheelan's comedy tour. He should have scheduled a stop in Fargo for that week.
Yeah, huge miss, Brooks. Why would you come to Austin when you can go to Fargo? All right, go ahead, Ben.
You're gonna love this. Okay, so I posted yesterday that one of my friends sent me this autism test that I could take, and I tested. I can't remember what the wording was. I'll find you what the wording was.
Oh, I see your Instagram post. Significant autistic traits.
I have significant autistic traits. And I thought we can close the show on this because I thought you'd laugh at this because you've said this to me before many times. Question number 35. I am often the last to understand the point of a joke.
Yeah.
Would you select strongly agree for me, slightly agree, disagree, or strongly disagree?
I strongly agree that you are at times the last.
Dang it!
But some of them you pick up. It is interesting, the ones that you like pick up right away, and the ones that to me seem like the obviously not true. I feel like it's sarcasm that is a little tougher.
No, it's. I mean, I know, because my wife. Sometimes I take things too literal.
Yeah.
Like my first inclination is to think literally, and then I have to then process, and then I think. And the other thing that people struggle with, autism people, which I guess would include myself. I'm trying to find the questions. Telling what people are thinking by the look on their face. I really struggle with that one. And the other one that I was dying laughing at because my wife she busts my ass about this one a lot. Oh man, let me find it. Oh, this one, the question number 7. Other people frequently tell me that what I've said is impolite, even though I think it is polite. My wife busts me up. She'd be like, dude, what you said was so rude tonight. And I'll be like, what are you talking about? I had a great conversation. I don't know what you're talking about. And she'd be like, dude, you were so rude. I'm like, Amy, no. The conversation was great. And she'll bust me up about it.
Do you have a recent example?
Of that? No.
Amy
I mean,
keeps them chambered.
No, I mean, she's good about telling me that night, and every once in a while I'll disagree with most. But by now, most times I'm like, oh, I see what you're talking about, because I process things a little bit differently, you know. Because I mean, honestly, my best friends in the world are like, there's one of them that I won't bring up on the show but if I said like, hey man, that cup is red, he'd be like, nope, it's a dark orange. You're wrong. And I'm like, why do we need to argue about this? But it's like they just say whatever they're thinking, and it's perfect because then we can see eye to eye. And that's kind of like, if Amy, I guess in small social chit chat and small talk, you're not supposed to just disagree, because just disagreeing, you just kind of let things slide. But that's where I miss that a lot. I don't get it. If someone says something I don't agree, I'm just like, no, you're wrong on that.
So just while we're on this topic of the beautiful mind of Ben Askren, I was watching and you've referenced this before, but you referenced it when we shot the a technique video where you're teaching the assassin. I was just watching stuff with Caleb.
Mm-hmm.
And how were you able to remember something from a 1996 Greco camp? Like, you're like, I just started thinking about, I mean, what, you used to have a Rolodex of all the things you learned at wrestling camps? Because it wasn't written down, or you didn't imply that you had written it down.
So I should find the other question. One of the things that is I can see things in my head really well.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, for example, last week, Keegan O'Toole taught me a wrestling move. And then I saw him doing something. I said, what are you doing over there? That looks kind of cool. Why don't you? And we do some college practice. I said, why don't you teach us all that? So he taught us. I hit it 3 times on him yesterday.
Really?
He just taught me last week. And then there was 2 other moves, which I just kind of seen him do. I never practiced. I never anyone teach it to me. And I hit those moves on him also. And I'm like, I'm stealing all your moves. So like, I have this ability to, and I haven't always had this. It was developed, but obviously, to your point, I can like see things in my head and like feel them a little bit. And so I saw moves that he did, and then I thought, oh, these would apply in this scenario. And then I was able to hit them successfully. So I could just kind of like see and feel what's going on. And I think it's because I tended to be very, very obsessive about wrestling, and I would just think about it and think about it and think about it. And so I came to the point where I could kind of like see and feel how things worked in my head. And then I would be able to, like, these moves, I'd never drilled them one time. And then in a live situation, I was able to execute them effectively.
That's pretty amazing.
Does that make sense?
It doesn't. I mean, it makes sense, but it's that you're able to do that. It's pretty.
Yeah, Keegan's got some. I'm not gonna bust up on his super secrets here. He's got a couple new things that he's doing that are uber tremendous. I really like him. It's great. We'll hopefully we see him at Junior Worlds.
How much is he innovating on his own, or is it he's just learning stuff, or what?
I think he doesn't realize it yet. But I'm like, well, who taught you that? And he's like, I don't know. I just don't want to do this or that, so like it's clicking.
He doesn't really realize that he's doing that.
I don't think he realizes yet. He doesn't realize the power of what he has.
How quick is he to laugh at jokes?
I'm gonna make him take the test, and we'll find out. I think he's more social than me. I don't think he's autistic.
He's pretty normal
very
socially.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're excited to watch Keegan. Excited to talk more wrestling tomorrow. We're gonna get the heck out of here. Thank you guys so much for listening. We'll be back tomorrow. It'll be a happy Thursday. Thanks to Ben. Thanks to David. Thanks to you especially for listening. We will see you then. Have a great Wednesday. Goodbye.